All right. So segment three,
Beer.
beer. Which, by the way, I've changed off now. I'm on just regular Blue Moon.
Oh, can I see the
Um,
label? Cool. Sorry.
do you
I
guys
love the
have
I
Blue
love
Moon
the
out there?
marketing. No, we have one called Blue Buck though. It's a pale ale.
Oh, yeah, Blue Moon's pretty popular out here. It's, I mean, we got a lot of liquor stores here, and I mean, it's Vegas, so
Yeah.
um, probably the two biggest liquor stores out here are about the size of like the biggest one's about the size of like a super Walmart, or I don't know if you have those out there, like Walmart
Walmart's.
supercenters.
Yeah. Well,
So
they're all super centers to us up here. I don't know what a Walmart super center is. Is it bigger than the other Walmarts?
Walmart Supercenter is the one that has the auto in it. Like you can go get battery and tires changed. Then
Yeah.
also it has the outside like plants and shit and basically everything. They sell food,
It's a
clothes.
garden store, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they,
Okay, so
they,
they're
they
all
have
like that up
everything
here.
all
But
combined.
I was going to say that
Most
a
most are
true
like that
measure
now.
of Walmart is how many RVs are parked in the parking lot in the back corner.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it's more than 10, it's a superstore Walmart.
Well, they out here they actually also have neighborhood WalMarts, which are just grocery store WalMarts basically,
Mhm.
and that's all it is. But yeah, so
You can buy beer at them. You can't buy beer at grocery stores up here. You
oh,
have
you
to get,
could. Oh my God, you could buy beer at every place you could stop at here.
yeah.
Gas stations all sell beer. Every single grocery store has like at least I want to say like 1/7 of the store is dedicated to alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
That's one of my favorite things about traveling to the U.S. is just walking into a 7-Eleven or whatever and just buying like a case of beer.
yeah.
Like, it's so satisfying. Like,
Well,
I'm an adult. I can buy beer. I
it
don't need to go to
depends.
a special store.
Yeah. Well, I mean, although like I said, the liquor stores that we have out here, we have one that's Total Wine, which they have a lot of places, and the Total Wines that we have are the size of Walmart supercenters, and they're just filled with alcohol. So it's pretty fucking amazing.
Is
Um,
that, is that is that what is that the face you make when you're in there?
yeah, it's well, you
Yay!
go in and you look at like some of the whiskeys and stuff, and it's
Oh
stuff
yeah,
that I mean, like that I couldn't afford without like saving for like a year. You know,
really.
like they got some really good shit in there. So,
That's interesting because every single store, it's all like there's government liquor stores up here, and then there's private cold beer and wine stores we call it because they were used to only be able to sell beer and wine, but that's
mhm.
been lifted. But we still call it cold beer and wine because they actually chill the beer, and the government stores they don't. Anyway, I digress. But you go to the government liquor stores, and they're massive, and you want wine, they've got every single country. Here's their section of wine and all their best wines. And then you got like whiskeys, and you're like whiskeys from Scotland, whiskeys from here, like you got bourbon, and it's stuff exactly the same. Like it's got like single malt whiskeys that you'll never ever want to have to pay for, like
Yeah,
four or
yeah.
$500 bottles. But we're supposed to be talking about beer. I'm sorry, we're going on a whiskey.
No, that's okay. And like, so one thing that I'm kind of upset about, actually, which which you might have heard a little about, is that I actually had been introduced a few years ago to dark English ales, and I had never had one before because they're very few and far between. And honestly, the reason that I tried it is because Newcastle came out with their dark English ale, the Cabby.
Mhm.
So I was drinking this beer, and I was like, "Wow, this is delicious! Like, if they're all like this, then why am I not drinking this all the fucking time?" So Newcastle's kind of like my go-to. They sell it at virtually every store that I could stop
It's
at within the next like 100 miles.
it's well
So
marketed stuff, yeah.
yeah, I mean you can find it practically everywhere. And so if there's nothing else, I'll almost always get a Newcastle. And I really like ambers and things like this, but they came out with the Cabby and then they produced it for 1 year and then they stopped. It was one
Why?
season.
Oh, because it
Um,
was just too weird and people didn't buy
it,
it.
it was seasonal, and I don't know what exactly they did with it, but what ended up happening is they started coming out with these co-brewery type beers. So now they have like they came out with the Scotch Ale, and they came out with a couple of others that are from like different breweries that they teamed up with,
Yes.
and none of them are anywhere near as good as what I thought the Cabby was.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah.
disappointing to me.
Beer is a massive, massive, massive industry now, and I'm a little bit older than you are, and I remember, you know, beer used to be just beer was beer, and it turned into this, like, one of the first bartending jobs I ever had was in a brew pub, and it was just small batch, like, sold it. There was no off sales for it. It was just for this bar, and it was a 2,800 liter tank, fermentation tank, right behind the bar.
Yeah.
And I just go and plug right into that tank. I had to change it once a week, pouring it on taps, and like it was 30 cents a glass is what it cost to pour. 30 cents a pint is what it cost the company. Like, it was, and so then craft breweries exploded, right? It was great.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It's gone so mainstream now. Like, it's everywhere's got brew pubs everywhere now, and their flavors that they're trying to do, and this is just my opinion, but they're a little out of control. Like, there's this beer hipster movement happening right now where it's like, how much disgusting flavors can I put into one beer? Like hops. I hate hoppy beers. I don't mind them, but you put too much of them in there, it's just like, what am I drinking? And I feel like we need to take the reins and just pull back and say, just calm down and stop for a second. Let's get back to the basics, because when it gets to a point, you're not really actually brewing beer anymore. Yeah. You're brewing barley sticks, or, it's disgusting.
Just whatever weird shit you want to throw in there, man. And
chocolate and strawberry and just all these weird flavor infusions.
I agree. Personally, I'm not into hops. Like, if it's, let me say this: if it's the only beer that's around, I'll drink IPAs.
And somebody else is buying it for you?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If anyone else is buying a drink for me, I will drink whatever they give to me. I don't even care. I've had guys, girls, whoever buy me drinks. Totally down. It's okay.
You ever had a bar mat special before? You probably don't want that.
No, yeah, no thanks. So there's there's quite a lot of beers out there now, and actually I've been kind of looking into trying to brew at home because I've been a little interested in it, but a lot of brewing kits are expensive as fuck. So it makes it really hard. I was looking at one, the Grainfather, which is supposed to make like it's like an 8-gallon system, all electric, and I think it makes like 5 gallons of beer. And then they have the Pico Brewer, which actually has come out recently with like a more economic version, which is nice, because the original Pico Brewer was like $800 ish, and every pack that you got, it's like the Pico Brewer is like the K cup of fucking making beer, basically. Yeah. So, like, everyone has these fucking, stupid K-cup coffee machines. That's what the Pico Brewer is.
Yeah, screw that. It was a nice back shadow there. It was all electric, you say, really?
Yeah. all electric. So, but it's a really big system. It's about the size of, like, a water heater. So unfortunately...
explain to me, if you will, how that works a little bit. It's like a K-cup, and you stick, like...
Yeah,
like, so exactly the same. You stick it in, and then you get a beer.
Yeah,
it's not the
same. It's not the same size. So what happens is you get this this kind of like big tub that you slide in, and then you program in what you're doing with it, whichever beer it is. And basically, what it is like whatever craft beers are in the store, which could be any craft beer that you've ever had. If the company has decided to give them their recipe, they give the recipe and they sell it, and then you get the pouch, basically, which is this K-cup thing. You put it in, press go after you say what it is, and then it starts doing the process. And what ends up happening is after you have, I guess, like the 2-week or so fermenting period, then you go through and you can put it inside of one of the mini kegs that they give you, and hook it up to a keganator or anything that takes keganators, basically.
And then when your friends come over, you don't look like a cheap asshole.
Yeah. You get like a quarter or half kegs. And, it's kind of cool, but the problem is that the price per beer is not... It's about the same as what you get if you get beer bottles. Now, the only difference, the big difference, is that you get these craft beers, whatever it might be. So, like, for me, if I wanted a craft beer that was from, like, New York, which is across the country, then I wouldn't be able to get it unless I had a friend out there or unless a local shop got to bring it over for some reason. Right. But if they're part of the Pico Brew thing, then I can just order it through Pico Brew and then pop the fucking K-cup thing in, and then boom. After, like, 3 weeks, I got myself beer.
Saying K-cup, and I keep picturing some cute little Korean girl popping something into a, like K-pop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
The K-cup.
it's the same. It's just the same idea. This disposable thing that you're just done with.
It's like, if I would love to do a taste test though, of like go and actually grab a bottled one of the same stuff and then brew one for 2 weeks or whatever it takes for you to ferment it, and then put it side by side, and then tell me if it's the same. If it's, because those K-cup coffees, I hate that stuff. It's disgusting. It's instant coffee.
I mean, I don't drink coffee at all, but I imagine it tastes somewhat similar, only because it's the same ingredients, and they've got the same ingredients to the same ratio essentially. So it's probably going to taste pretty similar. The only difference is going to be that obviously you could put it into a keg and let it sit for like a week or 2 weeks, however long you want I think it's a second fermentation is what they call it. I'm not 100%, but you can do that, or you can fucking just drink it straight up right after, which some people do, and that's fine. Like, I understand. You got fucking brand new fresh beer in front of you. I'm good with this.
You're not going to drink it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is true. There is a second fermentation process sometimes with some beers, where, and we used to refer to it in the biz, but I wasn't the brewmaster. We had a guy that went to school for like 4+ years to become microbiology and stuff. So he's this guy making the stuff in the background. And he dawned me with his knowledge. Anyway, he would call it green beer. So he'd be like, okay, I'd say, hey man, we had a cream ale that we were serving, and it was the most popular. And we were out, and so I'd have to crack open another 2,800 liter tank, and he'd say, okay, go ahead and do it, but it's green. And I'd be like, well, what's that mean? He's like, well, it's not going to taste right. It's going to taste fine, but it's not going to taste as good as the other stuff because I just put it in there. And so when you leave it it is sort of a secondary fermentation process where it's almost like aging a steak a little bit, where it's true. You pull it out and people are like buying it going, there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this. And something wrong with you. Give me your money.
Yep. You asked for it, you got it.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. And I mean, I've looked into it. It's a little bit out of my price range. If it were cheaper and you made more beer and you could make whatever you wanted and there were so many recipes available, I'd go for it. But in the meantime, bottled beer does me pretty well. We get a decent selection out here. Not everything that I like, but we got a good market. Vegas basically runs on alcohol, so we're pretty okay on that.
Yeah, the USA is doing very well with the brew of beer. It used to be really terrible.
Yeah.
But now it's right up on par with the rest of the world, and it's very impressive to see. So good job, USA. Nice one.
Yeah, one thing we got right.
I come down there now because I can drink beers. I'm like, ooh, look at this beer. Look at this beer. I'm like a kid at the candy store, right?
Yeah, they got. They actually have a bar out here, it's a chain that's called Yard House, and they have some ridiculous amount of beers on tap. I think it's like 150 or 200 depending on the place.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We had a place in the 80s and 90s like that, and it went out of business. But it had
this is a chain, and they've got them practically everywhere. And I'll more than likely this coming weekend be eating and drinking at one because they have them in LA. They also have them in Vegas, and it's pretty fucking phenomenal when you have a choice of 100+ beers.
I don't remember the name of that. It's called Fog and Suds. It was a chain too. It was massive. It was nationwide. Fog and Suds. What was that one called? Yard
House.
Yard House.
Yeah, because you could actually get a yard of beer, which is like their big thing. So
you know what it sounds like? It sounds like the same company, and they just moved into the U.S. and changed their name because they had that too. They have yards of beer.
Because in the U.S. also we have Carl's Jr. on the West Coast, and then on the East Coast it's called Hardee's, I think, which is like a different thing. But I wouldn't doubt it. So
I didn't know that about Carl's Jr.'s because that's a chain that's not up here, but we have Hardee's.
Yeah, Hardee's is the same company.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
the more you know. The more you know. Thanks, Kurt.
That's the truth, man. So we're pretty much up on time. We probably could have talked about beer for another 10 or 20 minutes. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry.
But thanks again for joining us. If you want to check out the other episodes, again, Drinking Wisemen, check out Frenzee on his stream. I'm not sure. Do you have a stream schedule up on your Twitch?
Whenever it tickles my fancy.
So it's random, spontaneous Frenzee whenever you want him. Check him out at Frenzee_play on Twitch. And thanks again for joining us, guys. join us next time, and please let us know what you liked or didn't like in the episode down in the comments. Cheers, and see you next time.
See you later.